My husband vanished on our anniversary and left behind a note saying don't look for me, but 6 months later, I found a photo of him in a wedding tux at someone else's beach ceremony, smiling like nothing happened. So I crashed the reception and handed the bride a USB drive. On the morning of our 5th wedding anniversary, I woke up to an empty side of the bed and a silence so sharp it cut through the walls of our house. I thought maybe Ryan had gone out early to pick up coffee or surprise me with breakfast in bed. He'd done it before. He was never the type to forget a milestone. Especially not our anniversary. We'd had a rough few months, sure. There was tension. Fights that started over small things and escalated into hours of silence. I thought it was the stress. His job had changed, I was in between projects, we were drifting, but nothing that screamed final. I thought we were just tired. I thought love was still somewhere in the room with us, even if it didn't always speak. I should have known something was off when I saw his toothbrush missing. The bathroom was too neat. No towel tossed on the hook. No shoes by the door. His phone charger was gone. I opened the top drawer of his dresser and found it half empty. The cologne he used for special occasions? Gone. His passport? Also gone. That's when I saw the envelope. It was sitting on the kitchen counter next to my anniversary gift, an unopened bottle of my favorite wine and a silver charm bracelet I knew he'd ordered weeks ago. The envelope had my name on it. Just Claire. Nothing else. My heart dropped to my stomach. Don't look for me. That's all it said. In his handwriting. No explanation. No apology. No signature. I stood there, fingers trembling, rereading that line over and over, thinking this had to be some kind of elaborate joke. A bad prank. A weird scavenger hunt leading to a surprise party. But there was nothing else in the house. I waited 6 hours before I called the police. They asked the usual questions. When was the last time I saw him? Had we been fighting? Was there any history of mental health issues? I told them everything. They opened a missing persons case, but the detective on the phone already sounded skeptical. Adults have the right to disappear, he told me gently. If he left a note saying not to look for him and there's no evidence of foul play, our hands are tied. Just like that, Ryan was gone. The first week, I couldn't sleep. I kept waiting for a text, a call, some hidden message. I drove by his office. They said he'd quit 2 days before our anniversary. No notice. Just packed up and left. I messaged all his friends. None of them knew anything. His brother in Arizona hadn't heard from him in months. His mom thought we were still happily married. I didn't tell her what really happened. Not then. The second week, I hired a private investigator. His name was Drew. Ex-military, quiet, efficient. He asked for access to Ryan's email accounts, bank records, phone logs. I gave him everything. I was desperate. I needed to believe Ryan was okay, that he wasn't dead in a ditch or kidnapped or lying somewhere with amnesia. But deep down, I already knew the truth. He left me. On purpose. For 6 months, I lived in the purgatory of unanswered questions. I didn't tell many people the full story. I just said he left. That we were separated. I didn't want to deal with the pity in their eyes. The judgment. The speculation. But the truth was uglier than anything they could imagine. My husband didn't just leave me. He erased me. The bank accounts were cleaned out. He had slowly moved money into a private account over the course of a year. Drew found out that Ryan had created a new identity. New documents. A second phone. A P.O. box in another city. He planned this. Months in advance. I was a ghost in his life before he ever disappeared. And then one night, everything changed. I was scrolling Instagram on my burner account. I'd made one just to snoop without anyone knowing, when a post popped up on my Explore page. A beach wedding. Hashtag coastal love, hashtag forever begins here, hashtag ceremony of dreams. Just another influencer wedding, I thought. Until I saw him. Ryan. Smiling. In a tux. Standing at an altar, holding hands with another woman. I nearly dropped my phone. I zoomed in. Stared at the picture. Then looked again. It wasn't just someone who looked like him. It was him. Same smile. Same stupid dimple. Same silver cufflinks I bought him 3 anniversaries ago. Ryan wasn't missing. He wasn't in danger. He wasn't dead. He was remarried. I clicked on the account that posted the photo. It belonged to the wedding photographer. They tagged the venue, the planners, even the floral designer. The comments were full of "so dreamy." And she's glowing. And he looks so in love. I felt like vomiting. The bride's name was Candace. Her profile was locked, but her bio said, wife. Nurse. Plant mom, ring emoji, June 3, 2025. June 3rd. That was 2 weeks ago. 6 months after my husband disappeared with nothing but a note that said don't look for me, he walked down the aisle with someone else like nothing ever happened. No explanation. No closure. No divorce. I wasn't his ex-wife. I was his wife. I stared at the picture for hours. Saved it. Sent it to Drew. His response came back fast. You want me to dig? I replied with just one word. Everything. In the following days, Drew gathered everything I needed. Who Candace was. Where she worked. Where they lived. The wedding planner's full photo album. The guest list. Even the honeymoon destination. But what shocked me the most was that Ryan had legally married her. Which meant somehow he'd faked something. Either he filed for divorce and forged my signature, or he claimed to be single under another name. Either way, it was criminal. I wasn't just abandoned. I was defrauded. I gathered the evidence. Photos. Documents. Voice memos. Screenshots of the messages Ryan had sent me in the months before his disappearance. The banking trails. The forged files Drew uncovered. And I put them all on a USB drive. I didn't tell anyone what I was about to do. I just booked a flight. Found out Candace and Ryan were having their wedding reception redo that weekend because the original beach celebration had been private, just them, a photographer, and a few friends. The real party was scheduled for Saturday. A full reception at a fancy resort. Dress code, formal. I bought a black gown. Sleek. Elegant. Revenge-colored. And I flew out on Friday night. I arrived at the resort and booked a room under a fake name. The front desk didn't even blink, they had dozens of guests arriving for the same event. I kept to myself. Went over the plan again and again. The USB was tucked inside a velvet box. A gift. Not for Ryan. For Candace. She deserved to know the truth about the man she just married. But I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to ruin it with drama. That's what they expect when women are hurt: tears, hysteria, chaos. No. I was going to be calm. Collected. Devastating. On Saturday evening, I slipped into the ballroom with the crowd. The lights were soft. The music was playing. Everyone was dressed in glitter and silk and heels too high for comfort. The couple hadn't arrived yet. People were sipping champagne and talking about how perfect the ceremony was. I stood by the corner, watching the door. And when Ryan walked in, holding Candace's hand, smiling like a man who'd never lied, never disappeared, never left a woman hollow in her own bed on their anniversary, I didn't blink. I walked straight up to them. People started turning to look. Candace noticed me first. Confused. Curious. Ryan saw me next, and I'll never forget the way his smile died. Hi, I said, calm and sharp. He froze. Pale. Jaw tight. Claire? Candace turned to him. Who's Claire? I held out the velvet box to her and smiled. Here. This is for you. Congratulations. She took it, confused. Then I turned to Ryan. Don't worry. It's not a bomb. Just a USB drive. He was already sweating. What's on it? Candace asked. I leaned in. Your honeymoon slideshow, I whispered. Except this time, the bride gets to see the deleted scenes. And with that, I walked out. But trust me. That was only the beginning. I didn't look back when I left the ballroom. Not even once. I didn't need to. I knew exactly what I'd left behind. Candace, standing in a glittery gown with a velvet box in her hand, probably still smiling until the moment she realized her entire wedding was built on a lie. Ryan, frozen in panic, watching his double life fall apart in real time. A room full of guests wondering what the hell just happened. Let them wonder. Let them know. I returned to my room, kicked off my heels, poured myself a glass of cheap hotel wine, and waited. I didn't even turn on the TV. I just sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall, breathing. For the first time in 6 months, I wasn't the one with unanswered questions. Now they had to deal with the silence. The USB wasn't just a collection of files. It was a map. I'd organized everything for maximum effect, chronological order, with labeled folders and video commentary Drew helped me record. I wanted Candace to understand exactly who she had married. Not just that Ryan was already married, but how calculated he had been. The slow erasure of me from his life. The money siphoned out over time. The second identity. The fake documents. A man doesn't just disappear on impulse. He plans. He rehearses. And then he runs. I didn't hear anything that night. But the next morning, around 6:17 a.m., there was a loud knock on my door. 3 short bangs. I opened it without hesitation. It wasn't Ryan. It was her. Candace. Hair in a messy bun, still wearing last night's makeup, and holding the velvet box in one hand like it burned her. "You have 5 minutes," she said. I stepped aside. She walked in without waiting. She didn't sit. She paced. She opened the box, pulled out the USB again like she needed to make sure it was real. "It's all true?" she finally asked. "Yes," I said quietly. "I'm still legally his wife. You married someone else's husband." She looked at me like I was a ghost. "I thought you were dead." I asked him about his past. He said his ex-wife died in a car accident 3 years ago. That's what he told his coworkers. His boss. His friends. I blinked. 3 years ago? We were still together last year. She nodded. He had an obituary printout. A fake one. Said your name was Claire Anderson. "My name is Claire Jameson," I said flatly. She looked sick. "He even showed me photos," she whispered. "A grave. A whole backstory. Said you'd been pregnant. That he couldn't talk about it." That one hit me like a brick to the chest. We had been pregnant. Once. But I miscarried at 10 weeks. I never told anyone but Ryan and my therapist. How dare he use that pain? Twist it. Weaponize it. "Why?" she asked, staring at me. "Why would he do all this?" I laughed softly. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Candace sat down, finally, shoulders collapsing under the weight of it all. "You gave me everything," she said. "His emails to you. The money trail. The forged divorce. The private investigator's report. And the prenup you signed," I added. She flinched. "Yeah. That, too." It was airtight. Ryan had written it up to protect himself. He claimed he had assets he didn't want compromised if things didn't work out again. But now that the marriage was fraudulent? That prenup was worthless. "I can get an annulment," she said, half to herself. "We only got legally married 2 weeks ago. It hasn't even been filed with the state yet. It's a backlog process." "You should," I said. "And file a fraud complaint. He could go to prison for this." She looked up at me. "Why didn't you just go to the police?" "I still might," I said slowly. "But I wanted you to know first. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't deserve to be dragged into his web." Tears filled her eyes. She blinked them back fast. "He made me believe I was the only woman in the world," she whispered. "Turns out I was just the next one." After Candace left, I sat in silence again. Not angry. Not broken. Just done. I packed up, checked out, and caught an early flight home. I thought maybe that would be the end of it. But I was wrong. So wrong. 2 days later, I got an email. From an unknown address. Subject line, "You ruined my life." I didn't even have to open it to know it was from Ryan. But I opened it anyway. "Claire. I don't even know what to say. You didn't have to do this. You could have just moved on. You didn't have to destroy my life. I had a new start. A new chapter. I was happy. Now everything's gone." She left. Her family is threatening to press charges. I lost my job. You got what you wanted. I hope you're happy. You always said you wanted closure. Well, here it is. You're poison. You ruin everything you touch. And now you've ruined me. Don't contact me again. No apology. No explanation. Just blame. It almost made me laugh. Almost. I sent the email to Drew and asked him to forward it to the attorney we'd spoken with. Because now it was time for the legal part. Ryan thought disappearing would protect him. But abandoning a spouse, faking a divorce, committing identity fraud, and entering a bigamous marriage? Those aren't just moral crimes. They're felonies. And I was finally ready to make them count. Later that week, Candace texted me from a new number. "Candace, just wanted you to know, I filed the annulment. Also pressing charges. He's been served." I stared at the message for a long time. Then typed. "Me, thank you. For believing me." She replied immediately. "Candace, thank you. For saving me." The story didn't go viral. There were no dramatic news articles. No viral TikToks with millions of views. But in our little world? It exploded. Candace's friends and co-workers found out. Ryan's office? Fired him immediately. Word spread. Mutual friends started reaching out. Some apologized. Some were just nosy. A few, surprisingly, were angry at me. You shouldn't have embarrassed him like that. He was clearly unhappy. You could have handled it privately. And to all of them, I said the same thing. He disappeared on our wedding anniversary and married someone else. I owed him nothing. I didn't go back to our old house. I sold it. Used the money to start over somewhere new. Not to escape, but to rebuild. It took months. Therapy. Sleep. Rage. Quiet. Hope. But eventually, I was okay. I stopped checking his social media. I deleted the photos. I let myself grieve, not just for the marriage, but for the version of me who thought love meant holding on, no matter what. Now? Now I know better. Some stories don't end with closure. They end with truth. And that's more than enough. 3 weeks after Candace filed for annulment and Ryan was officially served with fraud charges, I got a message from someone I'd never met before. It was a woman named Talia Westbrook. I almost ignored it. I wasn't in the mood for more sympathy messages or questions about how I was doing. But then I read the first line. You don't know me, but I think we were married to the same man. My heart stopped. I clicked on her profile. It was locked down, but her bio read, single mom. Graphic designer. Colorado. A quick reverse image search of her profile picture showed no sketchy catfish signs, just old photos from her company website, some archived Pinterest boards, and a 5-year-old engagement photo with Ryan. Or rather, Ben. That's what he was calling himself in her posts. Talia had posted engagement photos with Ben Callahan 5 years ago. Same face. Same dimples. Same lies. I messaged her back instantly. Please tell me everything. Talia and I spent 4 hours on the phone that night. Apparently, she met Ryan, Ben, in 2018 at a conference in Denver. He told her he was a financial consultant recently divorced, no kids, no drama, just looking for a fresh start. They hit it off fast. Too fast, in hindsight. They moved in together within 5 months. She got pregnant the following year. He proposed. She accepted. Then, 3 weeks before the wedding, he vanished. No note. No warning. Gone. She filed a police report. Filed missing persons. Even went on local news. And then, one day, she got a voicemail. From a blocked number. Don't look for me. I'm sorry. This was never real. Please take care of our son. I'm not who you think I am. That was the last she ever heard from Ben. Until she saw Candace's wedding post trending in a niche wedding Facebook group. She didn't recognize the bride. But she recognized the groom. And that's when she started digging. She found the USB story. She found me. You're not the only one he hurt, Talia said, voice tight. He abandoned my son. His own child. I felt sick. Did he ever mention me? I asked. No. But I think I came after you. Or maybe in between. She sent me photos. Emails. Documents. I sent her the ones I had too. And just like that, we started building a timeline. Ryan, or Ben, or whatever name he used, wasn't just a liar. He was a serial shapeshifter. He left a trail of women. A trail of lives. A trail of silence. It didn't stop with Talia. Word got out in one of those Reddit deep dive threads that seem to appear whenever enough people start whispering the same name. Someone posted screenshots of Ryan's wedding photos, the USB story, and a headline from a local paper about bigamist husband charged in coastal wedding fraud. And then a third woman came forward. Her name was Emily. And her story was worse. Much worse. Emily had been married to Ryan 7 years ago. Back when he went by Daniel Reese. They met in Chicago. She was a nurse. He was an entrepreneur with vague ideas and slick suits. She married him after 10 months. Then came the control. Isolation. Gaslighting. She wasn't allowed to work anymore. Her friends dropped off. Her family visits got cut short. He kept saying she was too emotional, too reactive, too much. Then one day, she came home and found the apartment empty. He'd left. No note. No warning. Just gone. She never filed charges. She was too embarrassed, too exhausted, too destroyed. Her therapist eventually helped her move on, but she never remarried. I didn't think anyone would believe me, Emily told us on a group call. But now I see. He didn't just leave me. He repeated me. Her words haunted me for days. The three of us, Talia, Emily, and I, created a shared document. A running timeline of every known identity, address, and job Ryan had ever used. We cross-referenced photos, documents, phone numbers, social accounts. It was like stitching together a monster from the scraps he left behind. He wasn't just Ryan Jameson. He was Ben Callahan, Daniel Reese, Matthew Klein, Nolan Reed. Each name attached to a different woman, different city, different lie. And none of them knew about each other. Until now. Drew helped us pull legal records, old leases, even a birth certificate proving Ryan had signed as the father on Talia's son's hospital form, then vanished without paying child support. We compiled everything. And we took it to the prosecutor. Because now? This wasn't just one woman's heartbreak. It was patterned abuse. A documented history of deception. He didn't deserve silence anymore. And yet, just when we thought we had him cornered, he ran again. Broke bond. Skipped town. His attorney said he was cooperating, but when the trial date started approaching and subpoenas rolled in, poof. No shows. Phone off. Gone. They issued a bench warrant for his arrest. The DA moved forward with charges, bigamy, fraud, identity theft, abandonment of a child, and more. But Ryan? Vanished again. This time, he didn't leave a note. He just disappeared. For the last time. Or so we thought. Until one evening, Talia messaged me again. Talia, I think he's in Mexico. She sent a photo. Blurry. A candid snap from a resort tag on Instagram. It was a man with a beard now. Sunglasses. Shirtless. Sitting poolside. Holding hands with a new woman. Tagged in Cabo San Lucas. The username was private. The caption? Escaping the drama and finding peace, black heart emoji. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. But instead, I sent it to Drew. And Drew sent it to the feds. Because now, this wasn't just a personal vendetta. It was a manhunt. I don't know how long it will take to catch him. I don't know how many names he's still using or how many lies he's still telling. But I know this. He can't run forever. Because the women he left behind? We found each other. We found the truth. And now we're making sure everyone else does too. Ryan, Ben, Daniel, whoever he was pretending to be, thought he was safe. He always thought he was 10 steps ahead. A new name. A new woman. A new city or country. A freshly minted personality that fit exactly what his next target needed: sensitive, mysterious, successful, emotionally available. And when the cracks started to show, he'd vanish before he had to answer for any of it. But this time, he underestimated one thing. He didn't think the women would ever talk to each other. He certainly didn't expect us to fight back together. After Talia spotted him in Cabo, Drew immediately got to work verifying it was really him. He ran facial recognition across tagged resort photos, matched timestamps with his known IP logs. Yes, he was dumb enough to use the same burner phone to connect to hotel Wi-Fi and forwarded the data to the authorities. The U.S. Marshals got involved. Because now? He wasn't just a scummy ex-husband. He was a fugitive. And he violated federal laws, including identity theft and passport fraud. The walls were finally closing in. In the meantime, I finally sat down and wrote my part of the story. Not the quiet, embarrassed version I'd been feeding coworkers and distant relatives for months. The real story. The kind that makes people stop scrolling mid-sip of coffee. I posted it to Reddit, TikTok, and Instagram with the opening line. My husband vanished on our anniversary and left a note saying don't look for me. 6 months later, I found a photo of him at another woman's beach wedding, wearing the cufflinks I bought him. Within days, it blew up. Thousands of comments. Hundreds of shares. Women started DMing me. Some just wanted to say they believed me. Some had similar stories, different men, same patterns. A few even sent photos of men they thought might be Ryan, asking, is this him too? That post did what the court system couldn't. It lit a fire under the internet's ass. A week later, I got a message from a journalist at a major outlet. They were running a feature on runaway grooms and fraud in modern relationships, and they wanted to tell my story. Not just mine, Talia and Emily's too. We agreed. Not for fame. Not for pity. But because if there was even one more woman out there he'd lied to, we needed her to know she wasn't crazy. She wasn't alone. While the feature was in the works, I heard from Candace again. She had been quiet, too quiet, but now she was ready to talk. We met up at a little cafe halfway between our cities. She looked different. Not broken. Just stronger. He called me, she said, sipping her tea. From a foreign number. Said he missed me? Said it was all a misunderstanding. That you manipulated everything? I rolled my eyes. Of course he did. He begged me not to press charges. Asked me to forgive him. Said we could start over somewhere new. Did you respond? She smiled. I recorded it. Sent it to the DA. I nearly clapped. That's my girl. Ryan's trial began without him. The DA pushed forward with what they could. The bigamy charge. The document forgery. The financial manipulation. Since his victims were now public and coordinated, we had built an airtight case, without needing him to sit in court. Talia testified via video. Emily gave a written deposition. I showed up in person. It was the first time I'd stood in front of a courtroom and said, out loud, I am married to a man who married someone else while still legally bound to me. I expected it to hurt. But it didn't. It felt like freedom. The judge issued a default ruling. Ryan, aka Ben, aka Daniel, was found guilty of fraud, bigamy, and falsifying federal documents. His accounts were frozen. His passport flagged. A warrant sent to Interpol. We didn't know when he'd be caught, but now? He wasn't hiding in the shadows anymore. He was officially a wanted man. And then, the final twist. 2 days before the article dropped, I got a call from Drew. They found him. Where? Customs. Trying to fly from Cancun to Portugal using a fake Canadian passport. He was pulled aside, fingerprinted, and detained. I sank into a chair, blinking. He's arrested? Yep. He'll be extradited back within the week. My mouth went dry. After everything. The ghost I'd been chasing for over a year was finally in chains. The day the article was published, my inbox exploded. The headline? The husband who vanished, and the women who refused to stay silent. It detailed everything. From the day he disappeared on our anniversary to the USB handoff at the reception, to Candace's annulment, to the years-long pattern of emotional abandonment and deception. It wasn't just a true crime story. It was a survivor story. And we weren't victims anymore. Talia's quote in the article was my favorite. He tried to disappear into different lives, but he forgot that truth is louder than silence when women start talking. And she was right. The fallout was massive. Other women came forward. One from Vegas. One from Seattle. He'd never married them, but he proposed, lived with them, drained their savings, then ghosted. Each story made the case stronger. And each one made me feel less alone. We weren't just stories. We were evidence. I visited the courthouse the day Ryan was brought back into the country. I didn't go inside the courtroom. I didn't need to see him. But I watched from the hallway, standing behind a line of glass, as he walked past me in cuffs. He looked different. Smaller. Older. Defeated. He looked right at me. I didn't blink. I didn't flinch. I just raised my hand. And waved. The trial began 6 months after Ryan, Ben, Daniel, whatever name he was hiding behind at the time, was brought back into the country. He pled not guilty. Which was honestly laughable. He claimed I forged the marriage license. He said Talia was unstable and had fabricated their entire relationship. He called Emily a jealous ex who had held on to the past for too long. But here's the thing about men like him. They count on chaos. Confusion. Disbelief. What they don't count on. 3 ex-partners testifying under oath, with receipts, documentation, and matching timelines, all standing in the same room. And we didn't flinch. The courtroom was full. Candace sat right behind me every day. She didn't testify, but she showed up. Talia flew in with her son. She asked for a private room during breaks because seeing Ryan made her physically ill. Emily took the stand with the confidence of a woman who finally found her voice after years of being gaslit into silence. And me? I wore the same black dress I wore when I crashed his wedding reception. Symbolic. Poetic. Savage. When I took the stand, I told the court everything. How he left me on our anniversary with a note that said, "Don't look for me." How I found a photo of him marrying another woman while still legally bound to me. How he disappeared from every account, every shared connection, every trace of the life we built, like I was a chapter he could erase without consequence. But this time, the ending wasn't his to write. Ryan's defense team did what they could, claimed mental health issues, childhood trauma, unresolved grief. But none of it explained the multiple identities. The cross-country marriages. The fake obituaries, the forged divorce documents, the stolen money. He didn't need therapy. He needed handcuffs? The jury deliberated for just under 4 hours. When they returned, I didn't look at Ryan. I looked at the women beside me. And when the verdict was read, guilty on all counts. We didn't cheer. We didn't cry. We just breathed. For the first time in years. We could finally exhale. Ryan was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. 3 for identity fraud. 5 for bigamy and falsifying legal documents. 4 more for child abandonment and financial crimes. No parole before 10 years served. He cried when they read the sentence. I didn't. Not even a blink. After the trial, Candace gave me something I wasn't expecting, the original cufflinks. The ones I gave Ryan on our 3rd anniversary, the ones he wore to his fake wedding. I think they belong to you, she said, pressing them into my palm. I smiled. I think they belong in a fire. And that's exactly what I did. I burned them in a backyard fire pit with Talia and Emily 2 weeks later. It wasn't a dramatic moment. No screaming. No yelling. Just quiet. A symbolic cleansing. A funeral for the man who never really existed. Months passed. The story lived on. Podcasts covered it. YouTube videos dramatized it. Even Netflix reached out for adaptation rights. We declined, for now. Because what mattered most wasn't the clicks or views. It was the message. And we delivered it loud and clear. You can lie, vanish, fake your name, and forge documents. But you cannot outrun the truth, especially when the women you burned refused to stay silent. I rebuilt. I moved cities. I bought a fixer-upper with hardwood floors and too many windows. I adopted a dog named Ghost because I figured I'd earned a little humor. I started writing again. Just blogs, at first. Then essays. Then a book. About survival. About betrayal. About reclaiming your life from the ashes of someone else's deception. And when I published it, I dedicated it to 3 women. Talia. Emily. Candace. And to every woman who's ever had to prove that her pain was real. But the twist? The twist came exactly a year after Ryan's sentencing. I received a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. The handwriting? Undeniably his. I opened it on the back porch, expecting another bitter diatribe or one last attempt to manipulate the narrative. Instead, there was just a single page. No rant. No signature. Just this. For a long time, I thought disappearing made me powerful. That if no one could find me, no one could hurt me. But in the end, the only person who really vanished was me. You didn't ruin me, Claire. You revealed me. I read it once. Then tore it in half. Not out of anger. But because I didn't need it anymore. I already had closure. So here it is. The ending you're waiting for. Not in a courtroom. Not in revenge. Not in fire or fame. But in truth. Because the most savage thing you can do to a man who built his life on lies is to survive him. And then? Thrive without him.